Guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm joined by Kayla Dansby, who is an Air Force spouse and the owner of Groove Virtual Assisting. Hi, Kayla. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. We've had a great time chatting because she is just so happy and perky, even though she's at home with three young kids, one who's in nursery school, but still three young kids balancing everything. And we're going to learn more about that later. But first, I want to start with a simple question. What's been the biggest challenge of owning a business providing professional services while still moving in the military lifestyle?
So I think the obvious answer is going to be like moving. It's really hard when we're moving as military spouses. We as ourselves kind of be put on the back burner. We're putting our families first. We're putting our spouse's career first. They're getting to a new base and need to make a good presence with that. We're in the thick of finding schools and checking out, our new communities and just trying to figure out all the big and small details of life when we're at a brand new location. So the biggest struggle as an entrepreneur has been trying to keep my business in the front and like being able to prioritize that as well as keep everything else in order, especially as a mom and a spouse.
Yeah, and so I know that like you really felt passionate about learning about your business first before you started your business, and that must help with the balance because you're like, okay, I don't know enough to do it myself now. And I know that you worked in the industry for 10 years before you started your own industry, before you started your own business. Do you think that was important to the balance of the business? Like, do you think that was like, oh, it gave you more comfort and having lessons learned and figuring out, I know that you love SOPs. So do you think that helped in terms of like figuring out how things were supposed to work before you launched your own business?
Yeah, that's a great question, and absolutely. I think if I had been newer to the industry, I wouldn't have had that confidence just in myself, like being able to manage or navigate just the different diversions we had with just moving your business and moving life in general. So just having that pocket of experience just gave me that confidence. I knew exactly how I needed to pivot when I needed to pivot. I knew exactly what I needed to delegate. But I also knew like I didn't have to I wasn't in the thick of like learning new tasks or anything. So it was just things that like I felt like I could do with my eyes closed. Like I was like, I can do this. I just at that time it was more like finding the time to do it when we're moving and everything. So definitely gave me a huge advantage to overcoming those struggles when we
Yeah.
are moving as a military spouse. So I am extremely thankful for all the experience leading up to that point. Um, and I had done moves within that 10 years as well. They were not as extreme as our most recent move. So it didn't feel as big of a change. But our most recent move was Oconus. And of course, that just comes with its own set of struggles. So just adding business stuff on top of that, I was really thankful for that huge amount of experience. And like you said, I'm big into SOPs. So I already had a whole like SOP bank is kind of what I call it. I could go through and easily grab something for my team if it was something that I was like, normally this is what I do, but I really need to just delegate this for this one or two times. I already had an SOP for it, so I could just like quickly send it over to them with some login credentials, and like I knew they could figure it out what to do.
Yeah.
So that was a huge advantage. Yes.
No, that's cool. And so I think, it sounds like working for someone else helped you establish those SOPs because you realized what you liked doing, what you didn't like doing, and the processes that you enjoyed versus the ones that weren't helpful to you. So that makes a lot of sense. I also love your tip, because I read your highlights. I love your tip about using the Seco Udemy partnership to upskill. I hope I said that right. And I'm sure there are people out there who aren't quite familiar with the program. So can you share a little bit more about what it is and how you chose the skills that you wanted to explore and learn more about?
Yeah. So this is actually something I found out about, I think it's 3 or 4 years ago. And I think I don't know if it's SECO or SECO to be honest, but it stands for Spouse Education and Career Opportunities. And it's a tool that Military One Source has. And you can contact the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities through Military One Source. They post job opportunities, trainings, resume buildings, tons of things there. But if you have a connection call with them, they give you access to Udemy. And if you're not sure what Udemy is, it's basically a platform. And within that, it has really like in-depth training programs for a ton of different digital things. So like for example, we do a lot of like Meta and Facebook ads in my business. And so they have a like tons, probably like 20 plus trainings, 13 plus hour trainings of Facebook ads in there. And this is free. So normally these are like hundreds of dollars just for one course, but you can go in and enroll in all of them if you wanted to for absolutely free. And you can learn skills that way. And even in those trainings, they give you practical ways to practice those outside of the training, whether that be in like your own accounts or things like that. But it's a really good way to get trainings. Some come with certifications, and just those, you can get practice in there too. So it's a really good platform to use if, working digitally or owning your own business or doing some virtual assisting work is interesting to you. Um, Go in there, like look through all the courses. I mean, they have things on everything like blogging, SEO, website design. Like there's tons of information in there. And you can spend hours in there learning for free, which is pretty cool. And you'll save hundreds and hundreds of dollars by doing that.
Well, and that's really smart advice because I know that even if if you're working in social media or like you said, virtual assisting or, any digital platform, um, it's hard to stay up to date on social media platforms because they're always changing. And then like the way, like you can track metrics and everything is always changing. Every time I log into Facebook, I swear that the interface is different. And so it's great that you can keep up with that for free. I mean, that's a really great tip because once your spouse retires, after a certain time, you lose access to all that. So it's great to be able to have it, ahead of time and to build your portfolio because I think if you own your own business, it's not like yes, we'd love to outsource everything, but you also have to be knowledgeable in it enough to be able to do it yourself and ask the right questions, right? So I think that is a fantastic tip. And I
Absolutely.
mentioned earlier that you have 3 young children and a husband who's still deploying, and you live overseas. I mean, I think all of that together would be a bit daunting, but then you also run your own business. So from that vantage point, how do you keep it all balanced? Like, you're probably working on very different time zones because you probably have clients all over the world. And your kids are on their own, like their own schedule. So I mean, that's a little inflexible there. And you may or may not have help because your husband may be TDY or deployed. Like, how do you keep it all balanced?
So I love to use the word blend when it comes to just talking about all the things we do in life and how we're gonna just make it work basically. Yes, it was really daunting when my husband came home and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm leaving for, X amount of months." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like didn't quite plan on that one in our cards this year, but here we are. We're almost done with it. And overall, things have gone pretty smoothly. But keeping this blend like harmonious has really been something I have worked on just in our personal life and my business basically from the get-go as a family and from starting my business. And my thing is like you just have to manage your time. And it sounds super simple when someone's like, "Oh yeah, manage your time." But no, it's really not. And so like I actually have a time management training course that I've created because I'm so passionate about this. But side note. But basically, like I love to just create like to-do lists, prioritize things, and see where I am not able to serve my family or my business well. And then that's what I outsource. And sometimes it doesn't mean paying somebody, but sometimes it means like a friend going and picking up my grocery order for me. Sometimes it means a babysitter swap. Sometimes that means like something my husband's done for me is like create a sheet of like meals that I can like copy and paste and order groceries for myself. Just simple things like that. Just having that community, asking for the help has really, really helped me create that balance or that blend. But also making sure that like I communicate with my kids and like for example right now they get their screen time while I chat with you but like they waited all day for that, so just keeping that like like just communicating with them, showing them like this is important to me and I know this is important to you, and we just all kind of pick and choose our most important things and bring them together. And it's like I said, it's taken years to practice that, but really just pinpointing priorities and communicating and bringing in that community to help me has been like gold.
Love that, and I love your tip about the childcare swapping because we used to do that as well, and so it's funny to see that something's changed, but something stay the same, and I will
Yes.
tell you that one of the best things that I think one of my friends invited me to, and I'm like, "This is crazy, but I'll try it." She had said, "Make your favorite meal, but double it, and then pack it into, like, packs for 4, like, for 4."
Yes.
So we all, like 6 of us, made our favorite meals, we doubled it, we packaged it, and we went over to her house for potluck, and then, we got to go home with as many as we brought. So it's like a cookie
Oh,
swap,
it
but
was
for
like a
meals.
party, like you oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's smart. I'm gonna plan that soon.
Right? Because it was like so one of my favorites was like this red wine braised meatballs with like spinach and mashed potatoes, like Gruyere mashed potatoes. And it was a little bit time consuming. My family loved it. But my problem was you couldn't make just like enough for 4 people. You had to make enough for like 12 people because of the
Yeah.
rest, because of all that ground beef, right? And so I'm like, this is perfect. Like I can make this and I don't have to eat it for 2 weeks, right? So it was kind of great because you'd show up, you'd have a great potluck with your girlfriends, and the kids would be playing, and then you went home with like 6 meals
Oh, that's amazing.
instead
See,
of
and
3.
that's exactly it. Just like building that community and like just coming together with each other's skills and talents. I think it's something that lacks sometimes in our military community, but I think just in a whole, like in our society, it just lacks. And I'm all for it. And I love to encourage people to find your community, be vulnerable, ask for help, plan fun things like that that are beneficial to everybody. I'm really passionate about that and just bringing people together.
I love it, and I love your attitude. I love your ideas because I think in terms of communicating and, like, making sure everybody's on the same page, I think that's so important. And then planning, what you said about your kids getting their screen time now while we're chatting. I'm greedy. I want to hang out with my friends, but I also need to cook meals. And I'm like, if there's a way to do both at the same time, then you're like, that's a great use on my evening. If I'm gonna have to cook anyway, why not cook and enjoy it with a bunch of my friends? And I thought
Yeah.
more opportunities for that, the more the better, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
I love it. And I think you're exactly right. It's a difference between like thriving in the military life versus just surviving. So
Exactly, and you have to choose to thrive, and, as hard as that is sometimes, because there's some days where I'm like, "I don't wanna do this," and, but you get up and you choose to do it, and honestly, at the end of the day, there's so much joy when you look back in that 24 hours that you're like, "That was worth it." So, I just encourage spouses. I know it's hard. It's hard to find employment. It's hard to just get up and be motivated sometimes, but, like, just do it, and I promise it will get easier and better as time goes on, and you will find your people, and, you just gotta make the best of it.
that's awesome. And I think that's the best sentiment to end on. So we will just end there. And I'm just going to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope we to see you guys back here next week. And thank you to USAA for making these conversations possible. And we will see you next week. Bye guys.